10 seconds. That's crazy. Get all over your head. That's crazy. Anyways. Get me out of this game, please.
What?
Literally, someone posted that fucking backroom meme of the dude going, "Oh, I feel like I'm right where I belong," and I'm like, "Bro, when the Stockholm syndrome hits." And it was obviously the dude in DVD, and I'm like, "Yeah, nah, bro, you got Stockholm syndrome. Get help." This game is not as good as you swear up and down it is. You do not belong here. Please get help. Seek therapy. Seek medical attention. ASAP, Rocky.
Yeah, I'm with you. You done that.
Please seek medical attention. It'll help all of us.
Polar Queen TTV.
I feel like I know that name.
He's not live right now.
I feel like they're a VTuber. I'm pretty sure they're a VTuber.
Sounds like a VTuber name, you know.
Definitely does. If I say so myself, seeing I'm a VTuber myself. Well, I guess you could say I'm a VTuber. I'm a little bit of a retard, actually.
Especially like bipolar.
You know, I'm a little bit of an ADHD retard mean girl myself. Minus the mean girl part. I'm just a mean boy.
I'm just here to be me.
I'm just here to bully my friends. I don't give a fuck about the rest of y'all.
I'm with you on that. I'm gonna bully my friends too. It's what we do. What I do best.
If you do that best, you should probably go back to the drawing board because you get bullied more than you bully. Just saying.
No, it's a power and weakness at the same time.
More of a curse than anything.
Oh, it's a zombie shot.
Nemesis.
I thought it was a survivor on that generator.
Wah, wah.
I spawn in, I walk to a generator.
When I spawn in, when I spawn in, when I spawn in.
So we have... Come on, I need that shit, you zombie.
Yeah, motherfucker. Go see, I'm down. My game lags. Love that. He's a fat man.
Nemesis and
Oh.
If used correctly, yes.
Nemesis.
What I said, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it. I wanted to say that too. What have you on the keyboard?
Somebody get me out this goddamn hook. Because you know damn well this motherfucker ain't gonna get me. I'm on a kill. In front of a gen.
Why are you calling me for?
Why is this Orman map look so retarded?
I don't like
Why is everything lagging? What the fuck is going on? That'll probably get chased by Nemesis.
Nah, you'll be fine.
Also, Ghosty's like right there.
You have Ghostface though with near you, so it could be an issue, you know.
Ghostface can eat my balls.
There you go. Happy to help.
For once, you actually did.
I don't know how I survived the ghost.
You ran like you ran for your life and you...
I ran in a straight line, lagged, and got slapped. That's what happened to me.
What the fucking life, man. I ran for my life and then I lagged out in real life and then I got used.
Is that really necessary at this moment in the juncture? You could have done that after the fact. You're giving away your location of Nemesis. You dork. Stupid. And now Nemesis knows the reality's coming. Oh, thanks, Trevor. Fuck.
I I thought there was a freaking ghost face.
Who? A ghost?
No, the Belmont nigger.
Yeah, Belmont is in your ghost face. We can all agree on that fight.
Confirmed. Hey there, how you doing? You know, unlike other people, I actually save people from hoax. I know it's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's like how you doing over here?
Well, we got zombies coming towards us. We need to move.
Oh yeah, we have a zombie that wanna bite us. Probably never felt a human touch.
I might as well be a medic at this point, because all I'm doing is running around saving people.
That one. I can work on the end. You
Whoopsie.
That's not good. That's no good.
Zombie! Go.
Okay, take one. Be bait, take one. Be bait. Never fucking mind, I need to be bait.
Okay, I think the zombies can't hurt you now, buddy. Try solo.
Oh, go straight killer shack. And Trevor running right. And we have Trevor running right to fucking him. Hey Wolf, do you want like give me
Oh my god, this bitch really just brought the killer to me, didn't she? Fuck, everybody brought the killer toward me.
Everyone does that. Blir det popular? Like, I don't know if there's something on the way. The moment I see
Get him off me!
Which name is that?
There's no way that fucking tentacle hit me, my guy. Get the fuck out of here. I'm not down. That's where Nemesis is. Where I'm down, that's where it is. Dying.
I find a mistake for you, buddy. I'm sorry, but that goes with me, right?
I don't know, Volt. Everything is wrong today. My car died yesterday. My gaming chair broke. Which honestly, I started to think is a blessing. Because walking to the bathroom and not having to get up and break my kneecaps every time I get out of my chair. It's kind of more convenient. But, yeah, fucking life's just kicking me in the ass right now, and I'm not very happy about it. Oh, great, Nemesis. I'm gonna go see if I can find one of those fucking bottles.
Hey, Nemesis up to me now. I love it, dude.
Unless they took the bottles out, and then I'll be really pissed. They took the bottles out, didn't they?
No, they are still bottles.
I ain't found a single one yet, and I'm getting killed. Ha! You bitch! Suck my dick!
Oh, fuck, I got whipped.
And
I gotta take you.
By the way, be very careful.
I have a ghosty on my ass. I am really about to die.
got the Nami.
Damn you! Play regular games. I hate fucking 2v8 now.
Hey, Wolf, how you doing?
Tunnel out first. Love it.
I don't know if you have a big voice.
That's the sound of me not giving a fuck.
That's the sound of him getting tunneled out by two killers.
Yeah, the vacuum cleaner. We'll start playing that whenever I get tunneled.
This is how I deal with people trying to bully the shit out of me.
I got sandwich. They call me. They call me.
You got Eiffel Tower. Let's go.
Respect those faces.
You love a good Eiffel Towering. I don't respect either of them. You suck my balls.
Oh, motherfucker.
How about you suck my goddamn balls, Mr. Fucking Face?
No healing? Really?
I'm marked, by the way, so if I go down in one hit, you know why. There you go. Help with help. At least I care about my teammates.
That took long enough.
Man. Where are you? Oh, that's good. I don't know. I like 2v8 when I can play killer and have fun. Survivor 2v8 is
Macarena.
pure freaking chaos for me.
Macarena, Macarena, Macarena. Hey, Macarena. Ay. Come on, what's that moving over the other side of the fucking.
Don't come water.
Still like exercise. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like it. Hey, Macarena. Ay. Daddy of Nemo. Son of Ghosty. Lover of feet.
He just feet.
Come on, Daddy, leave me alone. We can talk about it.
Daddy?
What you calling Daddy?
Why
That's
you
my daddy.
opening this thing, sir? You are not even infected, sir.
Oh
my God, it's ghosty.
No, we say fuck you in particular. That's right. That's what we say. Hey, God, fuck you in particular. There you go. Problem solved. I'm going to hell. Who's coming with me?
Really, audience on the left side.
Yeah, we can't put this up again, man.
Take that, Christian VTubers. Fuck your guy. He sucks.
That is still a thing, if I'm honest with you.
Now, like, now you see, what we call that a grift. It's a very nice grift. And if you grift hard enough, some stupid zealot retard sheep will follow you without question, even though everything that you do goes against the 10 Commandments, because you're a retard and you're actually a degenerate who just trying to cover up the fact that you're a degenerate by, I found God again. So, in all reality, Christian VTubers are just grifting whores. Most of them are e-whores, who used to be e-whores, but now pretend that they're not, even though we all know they still have that e-whore in them. Because you could take the hoe out of the hoe, but you can't take the hoe out of the Christian.
Hey, yeah,
Flip that shit. Fucking Twitch, clip it.
I just love it. I've God on my side. I can be an evil person. I'm a nice guy.
I have the power of God and my fucking OnlyFans account from 2 years ago on my side, baby. You can't do anything to me.
The fucking Christian girls OnlyFans account is a bad mix.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now. Catholic girls can act the way they want. Catholic girls are the freakiest fucking freaky girls you ever fucking meet. They're the ones who want to do whips and chains, candle wax, fucking biting your dick, all that good shit. Catholic girls are freaks. Christian girls are just fake Catholic girls who wish they were freaks. Damn. Who's bomb? You know what? I should stand up more often. I feel like I have more evil coming through me. Why is it the floor to me?
I have more evil coming through my body.
There's more evil flowing through my body when I'm in this position. My chakras are aligning, chat. Chakras are aligning.
Oh,
I can now go full Pico mode.
It reminds me of the TikTok I saw today. We are dog love sicko mode, maybe.
I just took a Zan, 40 hours till I land, and I slept through the flight. Through the flight. Through the flight. 11 day and night. It's a 747, man.
What the fuck is this? So we have one generator.
I don't know. Jamba Juice.
How are you? Have you found one of those removable things?
Hi, kids. You like violence? You want to see me
only
stick 9 inch nails to each one of my eyelids?
Dude, I'm fucking lost, man. We can do zero shit. I had no idea.
Want to copy me and do exactly like I did?
Walking the dog.
Something get fucked up worse than my life is?
I said mistake to fight that survivor. Mistake to fight. Hey, over here, over here, over here.
My brain is dead weight. I'm trying to get my head straight, but I can't figure out which Spice Girl I want to impregnate. Ow.
You know what? I say we sacrifice her for the greater good.
Fuck her. Suck it, Duke. Ellen Ripley can die. Who gives a shit? Get them hatches, baby
You
boy.
know she's gonna strike her.
Get them hatches. Nobody gives a fuck. Alright, Wolf, are you a Nia?
You're running away from you. Running away from
He's toxic. That's right.
Oh wait, no, he's playing Edo. That's why.
Okay, go off to me.
We love
now.
her. She's awesome.
Go off to me. I'm at armor at the kill set.
Hot as Gula Abilene.
I'm just waiting that. Wait, why is her fucking bot going up like crazy? Jesus, have they not done the removal of the anti-camp shit? Ripley, die. Ripley, die. There's no point for you being alive. Ripley, you
Die,
fucking
bitch! Die!
You fucking gonna kill us all.
Destroy us all!
What a selfish little bitch up there.
Right, both are on me. Nemesis is going inside the house.
Go hatch, go hatch, go hatch, go hatch.
Oh, what do you think I'm doing? This fucking Ripley won't fucking die.
He's dead now. Get hatch. Probably one's probably most likely gonna spawn on top of that hill or the other hill.
Not the hill. What's on this hill? What?
Was on that hill?
No.
Right
I
here.
didn't hear that sound.
Oh, it's right near you. And they're right there. You have to go. Inside the building. Quickly, run fast, run fast, run fast. Sorry, love me.
Yeah. My death is needed for that win, so I take
It's not coming. Can't big dick energy right there, literally. Yeah, I got that big dick energy. Who want to taste?
My death was the worst.
I was trying there, you know. I did what I could to save your ass, but then bam. Nope.
You TikTok rise Vix. Bitch ass didn't even save me once.
Dude, I think it's only me and Wolf who saved you, right?
I think so.
It's
Yeah,
fucking
'cause-
rude.
Yeah, he was the one who saved me. I saved everybody else and then died because they kept running and killing me. Because bitches.
You know, I'm dropping out of this one. I'm going scout. I'm going to try to be a scout. Because we seem to be losing.
I'm a little
talent,
pimple with bitches and hoes.
and nobody
I don't want to be a guy. That's for fucking sure. I want to talk her.
I don't want it, dick.
I want the dick, but I don't want the dick. What kind of blasphemy you telling people?
Oh. Oh boy.
You're contractually required to want the dick.
I'm required to do that? Ouch.
Yep, it's in your contract.
I thought that contract with.
I don't know. You gotta find it. It's probably in your ass. Where I've left it. Oh, motherfucker, want the chocolate? That's the chocolate, my boy.
Oh, the boy wants the chocolate?
What? I said chocolate, not chocolate. I said chocolate.
Chocolate
Jutsu
nuts.
style 69 Gok Infinity. Exactly.
Whatever that was.
You gotta take the drill dough in your butt. Contractually obligated.
And then you gotta activate it.
Yep. That shit'll clean out your prostate real quick.
And who
The
knows?
giant
you
drill
might
dough
even
can
like
reach
it.
lengths of 22 feet. Depends
Yeah,
on how much.
that fucking
Depends on how much
clean
polymer you put
out.
in it.
That
Yeah, that
fucking
clean out your
clean
colon.
you out real fucking
That clean
well.
out your colon and go right through your mouth.
Oh yeah. But the real question is, how will it come out?
I don't know.
I can imagine it being fucking painful though.
I can imagine anything being shoved through your ass and out your head would be painful. That's Vlad the
yeah.
Impaler.
Oh yeah.
Damn it, he's again.
That's how he used to kill people.
I love that man got his name by impale hits on fucking.
Oh, another
stage.
flashlight. Anybody want a flashlight? Take the flashlight.
There's an enemy here.
I see that. I'm watching him with much interest. I'm watching him with piqued interest.
I'm watching him
Light.
right
Light.
now. Light. Light.
This is
Oh
just
no.
gay.
I want to play.
I'm literally just watching.
I wonder if they're underneath the building. What the?
Did you fucking get him?
Oh no, Slayer is.
I got a flashlight. I'm on vengeance mode. I'm vengeance. In the flash grenade. Oh shit! I just dropped something on my floor. I'll fucking bounce. Just shook the house. Hey, that is which one it ages.
Okay, we have
Hi.
enough people
Can I have
here.
heals?
I'm
Can I have heals? Can I have heals? Can I have
fucking
heals?
fuck.
Can I have heals?
Oh, fucking God. The fucking.
Put me in, coach. I want to do it again.
Dude, the fuck was this healing party we fucking had?
Who cares? I had fun. I blinded the killer twice. Let's fucking go. Fuck you, Blake.
I'm proud of you of that moment.
Torch bearer all day, Ed day, bitch.
Damn it, Daddy!
They say no person survives due to it probably rearranging your guts, but pick your poison. You want it out your mouth or that ass? I mean, true. Pretty sure it would rearrange your guts. It's like my dick. What?
It's a wonder as
The femboy pussy. Femboy bussy.
It's a wonder as they want it like
Damn, he's too far away or I get the flashlight save. Shit.
Yeah, I'm going to need to start to get some of
Blinded. Finish your gem.
the laptop piece of killer stuff.
You're fucking new.
One of these
Give them what they
days
gave me back. BM, bitch. BM, BM. Gotta take my frustrations out on somebody. It's either gonna be Fortnite kids or these guys. Pick your poison. Pick your poison. Pick your poison.
Well, I managed to run away from light.
Bro, that angle though was crazy.
You know what? The moment you said that, I ran right into him.
You dumbass.
Light? Sorry about that.
I got back shot by light, man.
Hey, yo. Light back shots.
He was super fast. I bet he had a couple of men over in gear.
Super fast, jellyfish.
He's like,
Hello,
back
Eta.
shot.
Be free.
Hi, dude. So, you know, we
Super fast, jellyfish.
Oh, light boy.
Run! What are you doing? Okay.
We have a man by the way. I don't usually name.
Said you run!
I'm fucking running. What do you think?
I don't know what the fuck I just said, but I saved the Nada.
Alright, that was.
How did you miss, bro?
Hey, Ethan, how you doing?
Hi. Why did you do this to me again? Fuck, couldn't get that time. Meg, you fucking moron.
Yeah, we're some medicine.
I saved her with a flashlight so she goes into a locker in front of her. Like, what was the point in that? You just made me waste my flashlight for nothing. Somebody clip all of those flashlight saves because they were great. But these survivors are dumb. Only time. I need to be saved. Save me, please. I have a flashbang waiting to be used. Who's trying to drag you away now?
My flight is right there. What's that?
Boy, if you don't get your ass in this 2v8 lobby and play with us, I swear to fucking gun. You know who you is.
Mick, you know they were fucking sleepy here. Why did you try to save me, Mick?
See, now she was like me and had a flashlight on. Flashbang, you wasn't fine.
Well, you definitely have to join us, man.
Oh, fun.
Get your ass in here and say racist words to me.
You
can't us together.
Word you say, but
You can't say racist?
Never daddy coming. Never daddy coming.
Yeah, well, Blake's right there. I'm about to go on second because I don't want to save my ass.
Getting touched by that. He don't fucking
No. Chest. Kill each other. The fuck? I'm busy.
That hit me.
Wait, what? Opening a chest.
Getting a flashlight, bitch.
Fucking flashlight. What the fucking odds of that?
I don't know, but I'm taking it. Well, we're Sin, so, or Wolfie, so I can save him. But there he is. Damn, it's too far. Get a gen done, damn it. I'm going for saves.
Oh, what do you think we fucking trying to do? Hey,
Not doing a gen, that's for sure. Oh, there you are.
Touch you. I'm gonna heal you up real good. Those boo-boos won't be hurting you anymore, you know?
Damn it.
The killer shack pellet is back, by the way. So you guys know. We're doing decently though. How is Yen working going for us?
Nobody's working on one, that's the problem.
I heard some crazy maniac behind me.
Like.
Me and Taekwondo or one. Taekwondo.
Taekwondo.
Can't say his fucking name right.
No, I can't.
Hon Tae Young, there you go. That sounds like Taekwondo. Or Mighty Joe Young.
Mighty Joe Young. Mighty Joe
He's
Young.
mighty, his name is Joe. Mighty Joe Young.
His name is
Gorilla Boy.
I'll take it this zombie away. Hopefully.
The Gorilla Boy.
Let's go for a walk, zombies.
No.
Where these two zombies, okay?
Damn it, Tae Young!
I have one from
I got a blight on me.
Oh yeah, well loop him. Touch his nuts. Click on them.
Fuck on them.
Fuck off, zombie. You ain't for shit. And I'm down. The zombie distracted me and he got me. Hey, it's done. Let's go. I get the door open. Come get me. I'm the one by the door. Yep, that's me. What?
I want this. I'm running away. Open the gate. Open it.
Get after me. Move.
You got off the hook, man.
Eat that bitch. Oh, they're both here. I need help. How the hell did I dodge both of you? You guys are both suck.
The one at that corner. I don't know. I think I see you touching again, right?
coming towards you. Nemi.
I'm so
Have a
cooked.
beautiful day.
I'm cooked. Bro, everybody left without me. That's crazy.
Both Nemi and...
Do you know how much I contributed to this team and y'all left without me? That's wild.
Nemesis set this one open.
I made it. Let's go. Torchbearer, bitch. Suck my dick.
I found the hatch.
Torchbearer! King.
Mr. Butter. Mr. Ironclad. God. Men, då så Johan hoppa in.
Torchbearer, king you.
I mean, we have... we have Slayer.
We're so
going
iron-
on the-
We're so ironclad, were you? Yo, got one kill, bitches. One fucking kill. Eat my dick.
You see, he's on his villain arc now with the flashlight.
I'm on my villain arc in general.
You know, that didn't really help. So, fuck that. Wait. It's not here. Oh.
I got a broken chair, a broken car, flies harassing me. You damn right I'm on my villain arc.
Didn't you? Okay, man.
Yes, all the fucking flies came in the house, came in my fucking room. Well, leave me the fuck alone.
They love
People
it.
not
They
close the
love
damn
it.
windows. Close my damn rabbit. Twat. She's a nasty, messy little bitch. Ain't you, Adina? Laying in your own filth, bad whore.
Shit, fucking you bunny because you're mad there over the world. Bunny,
No,
you're
she's a
not
fat
the
whore.
reason I can.
Get that bitch.
Wolf, you're also gonna join the villain arc now.
Villain arc! Villain arc! Villain arc!
Damn. I'm joining the villain arc.
Villain arc! Flashlight squad, let's go!
I could do the midnight shift tomorrow.
Look, when I have midnight
I
shift,
need
I'll play with
to-
y'all. Right
I
now,
need to
I want to play
stun or
D&D
blind
with my
eye
friends.
killer this round, for my...
I'm trying to
Yeah.
steal my sin. He's mine! Come play with us and
That's
shut
why
up!
I changed to villain.
Why don't you still like me no
Chainsaw
more? I
villain?
don't want to play no games
Who
with
the
you,
fuck is
fucker.
Chainsaw Villain?
It's a new thing.
They didn't play
You
champions
like
with me
it?
no more. Lame.
Wait, what? Wait, what? The new thing? Chainsaw Villain?
Yeah. Like Baba or Hillbilly.
Bappa is the villain here. He can.
Bubba would
he
be too
can-
overpowered.
Mhm. He could probably get
Bubba would
like
be as
4
overpowered as Legion would be.
Dude, he would probably like down 3 survivors super quickly if he could there.
I mean, if you gave him his fucking perks and Bubba goes where Bubba pleases, he'd probably down the whole fucking lobby.
Yeah, that would be too powerful. That would be a no-no, honestly. It would be a brain dead thing, and there would be no pallets across the map after that. You know, because they won't go scout. You know that. And scout is probably the best class, honestly. Because you get information about killers when a gen get done. You look at them and once it, and you can repair broken pallet, which is super annoying.
I'm ready to sit on my bed. It's like, no, too far away. Fuck. Oh, my knees. I shouldn't have sat down.
Oh
I popped my knees.
Oh my poor knees.
You have no idea, dude. I have my kneecaps.
There's a zombie behind us, by the
I'm
way.
gonna need a new fucking
Another
kneecaps.
Nemi.
soon. I'm gonna need some fake ones.
Nemi coming. Not this Nemi. Hey Nemi!
This Nemi and rescue.
Sure, how many are we working on this one?
A zombie coming.
I tried to blind
Oh,
him.
it's Nemi and Wesker. Purple
Good
tray.
sacrifice there. Whoever the plick doesn't belong to. Good sacrifice there.
Anyways, yeah. Nemi Wesker. It's an antidote.
That can be rough. There's on this map.
It's a
Hey,
one.
Chris, punch that boulder. Punch that. Punch that jet. I mean,
Shut up, zombie.
come on. If he can punch a stone and actually get it rolling, then he can punch a fucking gem, you know.
Wesker, run! I mean, I run, not you.
Wesker run, not me. Run, Wesker. Be free.
And I ran so far away.
That would be hilarious. Do you have a flash to go?
Shit! Wesker found me.
Yeah. Did he show you really good?
Yeah, he sure did. Oh, should have pre-dropped this fucking flashbang.
I'll see you dead.
I'll see your balls. What? So what did you say? What?
I'm coming for a save.
I'm gonna Wesker, not you. I won't see your ugly balls. Boy, if you don't pick me up this goddamn.
Touchy.
Hey, I got a present for you.
No, you're not doing it to me.
Sure. It's a really nice present. It's a really good present.
I know what present
I swear
you
it's
have.
not a flash grenade, I promise. No, come here, I'll show you. It's over here.
That's a lie. That's a
I
lie.
have a flash grenade too, bitch.
Yeah? Use it, bitch.
I don't get that.
Wasn't expecting the sound. The sound that threw it off. Oh, hi! Ah, you missed.
Yeah, well, we thought you took them.
I thought I saw Wesker, that's why I moved. You scared the shit out of me. Holy fuck.
Right, next doctor.
Word.
Finish this yet, Let's fucking go. Ow, I got touched by a knife. I'm running into a big boy.
I'm gonna find something to heal myself with. Get fucking drunk off me.
Yeah. Oh look, I find a green potion over here. Mine.
Fun fact, they apparently made it so you can't see the fucking things. The chest
No.
anymore.
You can just have to walk around the map and find them if you find wood.
I found it. Holy wolf. We do not look alike. We don't even have the same name or voice. Like, what? I'd say I'm insulted, but that'd be insulted wolf. Yeah, whatever, I'm insulted.
Why would wood be insulted?
If I said I was insulted that you called me wolf, then that would be insulting wolf, wouldn't it?
No.
Yes. This man does not know how the English language works.
You fucking speak it.
No, you clearly don't.
Kan prata svenska istället om du
Fucking Nigi.
Det kan du.
Hey, Nigi. Bitch, you on your own. They coming.
He's coming hard.
No, it's my job.
Yeah,
Yep, it's my job.
Do you want heal or not?
I saw you chasing that person fucking forever, Wolfman.
Hey, Chris Redfield, go punch a boulder. You're needed. Not me hitting the great skill checks.
That was a miss. Damn it. Damn it. You touched me.
Touched by an angel. of the devil's sort.
Touch my ass more than you touch it.
Sin wants to be the raped.
Wow.
I want to have a little fatty up my ass and chicken inside.
That's insane, sir. Fuck. Angle's way off, but whatever. Oh, no, bye.
Nemesis are.
So you
Oh, I got both of them at once. I got Eiffel Towered. Oh, hell yeah. Give it to me, daddies. Give it to me, daddies. Yes. I got hit by both daddies? Hell fucking yeah, daddy. Hey,
I
yo.
like to get punched in front of
I got both on me now. So what?
Hell fucking yeah.
Working. Fuck yeah.
Work.
Oh, so I heard you. Oh, fuck.
Damn it.
So I heard you like zombies.
We need two generators. He touching one yet. He should punch you instead.
Right, well,
Punch it,
More
work faster.
accurate, you know?
Oh, I'll go get the save. Oh, hello there.
Okay.
Could be better.
Yeah, you know, with your car and me dying.
Quack.
The car was like, nah, I'm dying today.
That was yesterday, but okay.
A flashlight, a woman. I don't think you can ever see again.
And one we can find the last thing else.
Nope.
gonna
Yep,
keep an
found
eye-
it. It's over here. I can't mark it though, so I don't know how to tell you. It's in the, yeah, by the door
Oh,
actually.
back my life. Hi, Mammy Daddy.
Get blinded.
I got both on me. Again?
Get your ass back here and punch this boulder, Chris.
I wanna hear you say that again. Is there both on you?
Eiffel Towered by the fathers.
You sure like to get Alpha Tower apparently.
I'm nice with the killer, sir.
I'm coming, you know? Bye.
Fucking zombie gave away my position. I was almost halfway done with that gen. Nope. You tried. You failed. You tried. Sir, I already have worms. I don't need your blue juice either. Or two.
You need worms. You need all the worms.
I don't need the dewormer, thank you.
I'm one with the worms inside of me.
How did he see me? Ain't no fucking way. My flashbang is taking way too fucking long.
Now punch me back to hell. I'm dead.
Everybody, kill that bitch! Where the fuck is Wesker?
Probably near me.
Oh fuck, I'm dead. Ah, I took the power too quickly.
Wesker's is something.
Goodbye, everyone. I'll see you in therapy. Whee! Hook me, daddy. Hook me! Hook me now! Give me worms. Ooh, that ass though. Hello. Asian booty. Holla. Then you dumbass. This isn't even Asian, you dumbass. He white.
Let me see the Asian now.
Pretty sure he's a white guy.
Yeah, he's
Not
the white guy
mistaken, but also
get
Jill's ex-boyfriend.
Jewish.
Jill's ex-man, you dumb fuck. Holy shit, where the hell did you get Jewish from? Why are you trying to get us canceled?
Well, watching we won't get canceled for that.
Negro. Yes, we will.
It can be bad. No, they can't.
You seem to forget that there's a genocide in Gaza. Everyone hates Israelis. So if you say something about Jewish people, they're probably gonna get pissed. So shut the fuck up. You retard. Don't feel like dealing with the Jew hater today. Even though I agree with them. On the next episode of Dragon Ball, D's nuts in your mouth, Finn gets killed by Hitler. Come watch the next episode.
I've been waiting for that episode.
Yeah, it's coming sooner than you think. And it sure as fuck wasn't in Fortnite. Why did you run around the pallet or fake the pallet and run? That was stupid. You stupid, bro. You so stupid.
I mean, I did.
GG next, Negro.
Yeah. The only thing GG is about the queue time. That's the only GG I need to know.
GG never gonna happen. Go gadget, fuck this timer. Ow.
Yeah, at this point they should realize oh shit, we don't have barely anyone wanna pay fucking killers. There's too many of them.
Go gadget hooker cleanup. Damn.
Who did cleanup? Dang.
Yep. When you accidentally kill
He
a
got
hooker.
that good job.
Inspector Gadget be killing them hookers, man. I don't want to tell you. His go gadget dick is too bad. It's too strong. It's like the drill though. It goes in one end and out the other.
I bet he has one of those somewhere in
Inspector Drill though.
You never know what that man has, you know?
That's why he's Inspector Gadget. Yeah, I love Inspector Gadget though, Loki.
Yeah.
The Matthew Broderick movie with him in it was good. Although I really wish they brought out the Go Gadget hooker clamp.
Go get it. Who get that? Wait, what? Oh god.
Drill though, you horny drill. Yeah, oh my god, I should fucking raise a fucking Rhyhorn and name him Drill though. In Pokemon. I wonder if it's okay.
You should probably
make it so I can't.
use names you're allowed to use in Pokemon Champion.
Now I'm gonna find a drill Pokemon. Or a drill pal and name him Drill though. Or digging pal and name him Drill though. Oh yeah, my fucking my tortoise thingies. Drill toys. I'm naming him Drill though.
Oh god. We going there.
Yep, I'm gonna name one Inspector Gadget.
In honor of his name.
Did I send you the video of fucking Depresso ascending to heaven?
Yes.
That's
You
just
did. She just be like, what the fuck?
She's like, he's ascending, you know, just like, what the fuck is going on here?
Depression didn't want to live.
Like, is this what happens when you catch a pal in a ball? It just floats into heaven?
I mean, he didn't want to live anymore, so he'd be, take me, son, take me.
Gonna get tunneled, guys.
Oh, we're getting tunneled?
Did you actually guys hear the vacuum?
Nope.
Really? You don't hear this?
No, okay, I heard that one for a second. So what now? You're gonna clean your desk?
All these fucking dead flies on my floor.
Cleaning up a dead fly with a fucking vacuum machine. God damn, that freaking is too much suck for a fly.
Be completely fair.
Oh my fucking RPD.
To be
Let's
completely
fucking go.
fair, there's a lot of
Yeah.
dead flies on my floor. I may have been going ham with the electric fly swatter today. Gotta get my frustrations out. I hear Huntress. I don't like it. No, sir, I don't like it.
Oh no, this is bad. Hunters on this map.
Hi,
Oh no.
hi, I want to love you. Let me. Hi, hi, hi.
Oh shit. Run, run, run.
Like,
Blight.
Right on this is not that bad.
Oh, I'm going for the
I'm
save.
more scared of hunters.
Never mind, I'm not going for the save. He's chasing me. Fuck.
Me and work on a jam together. Planning a future together. Around this jam.
Go ahead, pick him up.
Now we getting divorced, woman. Have a beautiful life.
Shh, quiet. Really, bro? Really? Jump, you idiot! What are you doing with your life? Nah. I blinded myself. I was trying to jump the pallet and I fucking fucked it up. God damn it. They can't all be winners. I'm sorry.
No, clearly.
You know what? Fuck you upset.
Start the vacuum machine again. Start it, I dare you.
I bet. Sorry guys. I forgot that I was playing the game.
Why would you use sprint first? Sure, that was the worst way to use of sprint first I've seen.
Remember the videos now anyway. Who cares?
No, no.
Drill BB drill bitches. True.
No, if you can use it for the correct moment, the shift is very powerful.
Not only gets 2 seconds of speed. They nerfed the fuck out of that shit.
I like it. Yeah.
Funny part is the only reason they did nerf, they keep nerfing the fuck out of shit is because people overuse the fuck out of it. That's why.
I mean, are we surprised? Of course, people would overuse fucking sprint first. It's an easy way to escape them.
Yeah, fucking dickwad.
I mean, it's just that I'm scared anyway.
So Dead Hard would have been fine, but they had to go and fucking nerf it because everyone was using it too much. Now that sucks.
Yeah, you can't blame all the ones that be, oh, but we're gonna do this and this and this and have fun with this, and they be, oh, they nerfed it, why?
If you make bully squad overusing the fuck out of it, I wonder why.
I mean, isn't that how Flashlight got nerfed? Did that?
I'm pretty sure they're gonna nerf Alan Wake, Champion of Light.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's understandable at this point, you know. But that one is just fucking irritated as fuck.
Chris, why wouldn't you help me finish the gen instead of running away as soon as you see a kill? Or hear a kill? Like, she's not even here yet.
Oh, you surprised if I quick he wants to probably punch it.
You could punch this gen after you punches them boulders. Fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be a workout session for him. Fuck me, why did you have to bring hunters up here? Woman!
I didn't do anything. Oh, is that where she's been this whole fucking time?
You've been chasing someone for so long.
Yeah, apparently he was chasing someone upstairs because I couldn't find anybody.
Yeah, I was doing the Jen in the middle, and then she, whoever chased, was like, you know, I'm gonna run up to this person. Okay, do we have a Jen with good progress? Or not?
Currently, I don't know. Sounds like there's one over here.
I think Kansas is here.
But that's the one the gun just kicked. No more hug steak for me, baby.
I haven't even been hooked yet, bitch.
You have a foot, what you do? You can suck on my
Hunter
boo-boo.
seems to be in the middle area, by the way, be careful. I get a lot of red heart and Hunter.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Hi. Oh my god. Hi.
Oh, hello there.
Did I just get it done?
Picasa. That booty though. I just wasted my flashbang by accident. Oopsie.
Opening a gate.
Opening the second gate. Possibly.
I'll open my gate.
Mine's halfway done. Door to be found.
No,
They got her down because they're waiting
on.
on everybody to leave so they can move. Front gate's open.
Yeah. I taunted the hunters to my end of the gate.
Oh, she's right there. She got him. Go, go. Hurry up.
It was the best I could do.
We're good. You can leave.
Go!
You can leave. Come back, fool.
Chris wanna punch it. You wanna punch it. We have a closet that is lost in the middle. Yeah, Claudette's coming to your end, by the way.
Okay, hurry up, bitch. Go. That's not Claudette. That's Picasa.
No, Claudette coming right now.
She hit me. Go.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Say,
It's like, fuck that. I'm out, bitch. Bye.
oh. I didn't get chased by blind a single time.
Would it be bad if I just said GG?
You can't. There's nothing stopping you from saying
You
that.
idiot. Why?
We get
It
your
would
blessing.
set it.
No.
Oh,
I
you
didn't
He
fucking
left after.
bastard.
Oh no, the other guy. No, Wolfie said it, yeah. Wolfie
Yeah,
was shit.
I could hear that in your voice. You said
I
it,
was
man.
joking. I was actually gonna. You're such a dick. They come to my chat. I'm yelling at you. I don't give my legs a break.
Yay, no more villain arc. Now I can go back to being a guide.
Make me go.
You make me do it. So
Two more
right now
we got the new killer.
yeah. Do I see some crazy shot with that kill? I'm gonna have fun with that one.
Yeah, that was gonna be a skill based.
Especially with the bouncy thing on walls.
Yeah, I will not. I'm not looking forward for that one.
I'm hype about that one, but for once, because that killer will be that killer will probably be an insane high rate skill killer that you have to actually put your hours in, you know.
Oh, if that killer is perfect if you're using aura build.
Oh yeah. Yeah, snipe people across the map.
Yep.
I can wait until I actually land in some of the, wall shots. That gotta be crazy, and that's why I want to use my blood points, so I can free that fucker for every turn available directly to that kid, Guess that's what I want to
Well,
do.
you can P1 that kill and get the perks tier 1. You know that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but that's why I have my 9 million blood points, so I can just P3 them directly. I have all perks available, you know?
When I got the ace, and I P3 him right away.
Yeah, me too. And then I didn't touch him much because he wasn't really my type of killer. I don't know. I don't like killers who can impale shit. I like killers who can like hit from distance, but it doesn't like stop them, you know? Like Death Stinger, you can strike on. Hunter, you get a boost. Stuff like that. I don't like they can impale them. It's boring to me, you know.
I'm here.
Yeah, we were talking about how much the anger kill is gonna be with the power can bounce off walls. Death Slinger!
Yep, I saw the aura.
Laura, the fuck?
Death Slinger and a spirit.
Oh, fun. Like that.
You know what they're gonna do, right?
That?
They're gonna hit and then they go into drag.
Let's go on, save me!
Go over
No
there.
one is near me, what the fuck?
Right, but it's near you.
Ah, she got the fucking gen thing. You missed. Oh. Again, ho. You suck.
Hey man, good save.
Matt, I'm down.
Yeah, I have nothing to say to you.
Remember, Laura, if you don't stop fucking hurting them, breaking them gens.
I'm not sorry for that. Go up there with the yeah, there's enough people there. Spear coming to you guys, I think.
On hook.
You on hook?
Yep.
Yeah,
Gauge
you're
whatever.
always down there. I'm trying to save you. Good. Okay, I mean, that is actually good that you wait, honestly.
I hate that they give him a gen fucking hitting where they can fucking see your aura ability. But then again, I love it when I do it when I have it.
Get the company.
Of course you are.
Yeah, Death Slinger. I think you can look at Death Slinger.
Oh. He's not after me, he's after you.
Oh, I like this Death Slinger. He experimenting.
That's what she said. Haha, no cage for me. Hee
Anything I can use here?
Oh, great, I got
Damn it. Nah, I can do.
Don't touch me, just go to the gym.
Don't knock at me, bitch. I'm not a Death Slinger. I've probably played with Death Slinger than you playing your entire life.
Why is nobody seeing people at folks?
I hate when killer be like, no. Like, yeah, I probably played the killer more than play anything else. I would.
The fucker.
I mean, it's just like different jump. With that one gem. This map is probably really fast.
Fuck.
Have they made this map bigger? It doesn't feel like it.
feel that
No,
Dancing! Next time you take me off hook, heal me.
that wasn't me.
Yes, you didn't ever heal me.
No, I never unhooked you. I got unhooked by you.
You unhooked me earlier because you ran after the fucking Death Slinger game, remember?
Oh yeah.
Luckily, I got one. Still, it's a principle.
I don't think much of the
6 dead with 1 survivor, pretty much practically dead. 2 survivors almost dead. 3 survivors almost dead.
this map is really good for surviving, man.
Me killers?
Yeah.
Oh, now we got 2 gens. And he's just pursuing me again. Guess what, guys? I'm being total. You love that, don't you? Tunnel! Yeah, this dude got tunneled up hook. Now I'm on 2nd hook. Which should be my 3rd hook. But I got potion, so fuck that.
I'm coming to save you.
No, you're not. Quentin is. Get out this goddamn hook, I'll fucking slap you upside the head. You know what? Here.
No,
Bitch. You fucking get.
You fucker.
Good, fuck you. That's what you get. You little teabagging bitch. I'm on 3rd hook. We ain't got time for that shit.
We have all the time in the world for getting feedback later on.
Yeah, I got all the time in the world to flashbang his ass. He almost fell for it too.
He almost fell for it? That's good.
Sadly, he realized too soon.
The thing can come in that way.
Where's Spirit? Holy shit.
Fuck you. Oh, he didn't like the flashlight. He ran away. Oh, big boo boo baby bitch. Fuck you.
No fucking way.
He literally, I hit him with the pallet flashlight, and he literally walked the opposite direction, just walked away. Didn't even try to put up a fight. What a bitch.
What the
Big
fucking
boo boo
weak
baby
thing?
back bitch over here.
Fucking a Death Stinger.
Fucking Death Slinger's a pussy guy. Let's go. Slinger's a puss confirmed.
Yeah, man. If you play Death Stinger, you shouldn't don't be afraid of flashlight safe, man.
Not even a flashlight safe. It's just me flashlighting and be fucking trying to tunnel me again.
I mean, oh, see you.
Ah, you missed. Oh. I'm dead. Goodbye. Hide from a flashlight, baby back.
She aggressively fucking chasing me. Jesus Spirit. Are you in love with me or something? If so, I don't want you ugly ass. Jesus. That was the longest chase I've ever seen in a fucking long forever.
I said, running from a flashlight. Ah, the slinger, baby back, bitch.
I get it, woman. I get it. I'm not gonna get that fun up, man.
Hey, yo. That gonna change real quick, bro. I'm asking you right now, bitch.
It sucks, man.
Murdering flies, murdering flies. I'm a little hole of murdering flies. Murder!
Oh yeah, we free teams again. I might die again. They're everywhere, but... Are you afraid of shooting Deathslinger? God, you're pathetic. You not who? Oh, you guys not. Oh my fucking, are you those types? God, what they 1v4 people.
I don't think that they
I'm
can
sorry,
be
but
defeated.
English that do that in 2v8. Just pathetic, man. God, killers in that game of it's luck.
You was big a minute ago, little man. Let's go.
Dude, people who slack with AK is fucking pussies, man. If they need to have the AK in their life, then God, fucking that shit. Oh, 62. Wait. That hit that kill. Almost did that kill. Oh, what? Yeah, Deathslinger, you were not that good. I have to tell you that. Down 30, fully deployed 2 mech kits, down piece of 200 and he survived from dying state.
Is it this outfit you want with Kate or what?
Yes, I'm just 60 away from it. 60 blue essence away from it. I don't even know how far I am. Well, I'm 62. So I'm almost at page 9, which is the last page. So that's good. Now, you just need to suffer. And suffer. And suffer more. Then suffer even more. And we're gonna need to suffer for 1 entire week because 2v8 is back. And everyone gonna be, oh, it's 2v8, one love 2v8, nom 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 nom.
Well, I'm broke now.
Are you broke?
Yeah, P1 3 characters.
Well, you kinda have to do that anyway, you know, so it's better to do now so we get like a massive blood point bonus, you know?
Yeah, I got 2 weeks on me to grind some more blood points.
This is 1 week, man. Luckily enough. That's why I love it. It's only 1 week this time. It's not 2. It's not 3 weeks anymore. You know.
Last time was 4 weeks, almost a month.
Yeah, and that really fucked up the killer queue time for normal shit.
Yeah, that was fucking disgusting.
Yeah, and yet they didn't do anything new with this freaking 2-way. They could at least add killer at this point, you know? I don't care. Do something. Mix it up.
Hey, your
After
favorite
you-
map.
After the god awful bouquet event with the food, They really needed to fix the fucking rep by that shit. But they fucked up.
It's a spirit again.
And you're right behind me, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Right behind me.
It's again in the kill shot.
Good, thank you for the input. Come on. Oh. That's not very easy. Nice. This place is okay.
Okay.
Bing bong.
Blinded as fire. Fucking fear.
Oh no. That's a tough combo.
Oh, bye. I got out the tower.
Yeah, that combo is gonna be really scary.
I'm sure ain't afraid of no bing bong bitch.
I don't know. I have bad game luck when it comes to bingo. Honestly. My back.
Okay, you gonna finish that dungeon?
I wish that you would add the extra 2 last sentences.
My neck, my back, like my pussy and my crack. Is that what you wanted to say?
Nah, not really, but that adds with the extra thing.
Sure.
Is she touching the yen? I touched good, so we're working on 2 different yens now. Oh, hi, you might be trapped.
Durg to Durgan VTTV.
Why would you use
Babapa
Spring
Gaming
Craft
YT. What the fuck is his name, my guy? Oh, big ball, big ball, big ball, big ball, big ball. You hit me when I got like 10 feet away from you. The fuck you mean?
That makes no
Absolutely no fucking sense.
Don't. Yeah, fuck it. You wanna run.
Fuck you, bitch. You ain't tunneling me today. Suck my fucking cock. Take your invisible bitch ass somewhere else.
I was almost done with the Yan spirit.
Oh, yeah. I'm very close to that, yeah.
Fucker. First it turns back to me.
I'm going back to that yen, by the way.
I'm gonna save Kate.
Yeah. Hopefully we get this yen done.
He coming back? No, I don't think.
No, she's not coming back for this yen. But we finished the yen that you started.
Good. Then
We don't have to worry
then it
about
was
that.
worth it.
Bing bong. Fuck you, my guy.
Thinking boy.
Mein Kampf. No blinded. Fuck you.
That's gone. Good to know. That's gone too. I think I can do this with that Damn.
This Bing Bong wants my ass, and I'm not giving it to him. I've been slapped him with so many pallets so far. Not even funny.
Well, I got hit by spirit.
here he comes.
He left me abandoned.
Run! Or not.
I see someone coming to reload. Do you remember? Do you wanna get the wrapped?
Yes, thank you.
Look,
Ah, he got blinded. Fucking retard. Bitch.
Don't alarm you, but
But.
that's how you use that one. Perfect condition right there, Wood.
a panic.
When that's
You don't
how
want to
you're
alarm you,
supposed
but.
to- the moment you see them. Oh fuck me. It's a bling bling boy. It's a bling bling boy. You missed me? Sure. Sure. I hope you don't call yourself a killer man at this point, okay?
Fuck you. Get blinded. Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, I didn't watch that.
Fuck.
Bing bing boy, meet a bing.
Spirit's a bitch.
Yeah, bing is a bitch. I can confirm that.
Spirit's a bitch. Take flashlights at the beach. Bro, how do we have 3 people in cages? 1 dead. Why are you hitting me, bitch? I'm not going nowhere. Go ahead, build my camp meter up, you stupid cunt. I ain't know. I'm gonna send him back. Always helping me.
Oh wait. Big boy is not coming. I take it back, big boy.
Bing Bong couldn't catch a cold.
He could have catch a fly.
He's hit me multiple times, but it never caught me. The nigga can't catch a cold.
Good fucking stump there.
Ah, almost had her. It's 2 seconds too late.
Oh, what does that hit, man?
I have no flashlight to save you, sorry.
We lost all progress on that fucking generator you and me worked on wood, by the way. When I work on it too, we have a buff for it in it, so I gotta go and heal though. I gotta go and heal people.
Fuck off, you stupid Bing Bong bitch. You made it stupid! Swing and a miss. Swing and a miss. Swing and a miss. Run, sorry.
Oh, no,
Never mind, he's on my dick. He really hates me.
he's mad at you. You
I don't
lose
give a
him
fuck.
account like
Good. Let him get fucking Bing Bonged. Bitch. Zero to the fucking pound by accident. Let's go.
well, you they seems to be going better. I
My
like
goal is
that.
to piss off every killer.
Yeah, I kinda figured that out.
Hey, Meg.
Before start
Use a gem.
the
Nope.
flashlight will not for you.
Yeah, fucking right. Endurance, bitch. Suck my dick. Come on, I dare you.
At least light being going is actually honorable with the cooking. It doesn't go for double.
Ah, blinded her. Well, I'm dead. Have a good one, y'all.
I saw that.
Blinder trying to save the fucking Meg, but blinded nerds dead as no and didn't get the Meg off yet. Still worthy. Still worth it. Worth it. Work it. Work it. Work it. Work it. Work it. Don't you forget that's work it. Twerk, 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 twerk. Work, 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 work.
That way.
Oh yeah, we're out. Oh, I see. They're both up there. Maybe keep getting fucking pellets done. I've noticed this game.
I know, right?
She has no games for that shit. He doesn't mind giving me pellets. Okay.
Both the killer.
Oh saw you.
Yeah, I saw that.
So that good.
I can see you. Right. Bing bong, bing bong. I got back. I'm going from behind. Look fast, look fast.
Yeah. My world have beautiful life on move. But I don't even need those points, man. It's well, you need them. Hey.
Well, I got almost 100k.
Yeah, I feel I'm missing out, but you know, I'm not gonna waste blood points, you know, right now. Because who knows? Because who knows, you know, how long I can actually stand 2v8 survivors, you know, in the long run.
That's not gonna be long.
Yeah, it's basically because all I want is to play killers in this game, and that be like, no, you have to wait at least 35 minutes plus, like, bitch, I'm not gonna wait that fucking long for one killer game. You think I'm stupid?
I haven't played Ada for a long time.
Yeah, I just almost done with the thing I need.
Oh, shit.
We're getting a fourth one soon, as soon as laundry was done.
Oh, we get in 3 times the blood points as survivors.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna waste my blood points for that though. They're not worth it.
You already have everything P3 and have all the perks, so...
That was the most racist thing I've seen in my entire fucking life.
Wait, what?
Asian cop pulls a black guy over. Black guy says, hold on. He's like, you know why I pulled you over? He's like, no, but I got a present for you. Reaches down, cop pulls out his gun, goes to shoot him, getting ready to shoot him. He's like, no, I got a present for you. So he literally lifts up a cat, and the Asian cop looks at him and goes, oh, lunch.
Oh god, that's fucking, that's reverse racism.
No, that's not even reverse racism. That's like 2 whole spectrums of racism.
I dare you to do something racist.
Actually, that's 3 spectrums of racism. Cops against blacks, Asians, and fucking, yeah. Oh, fuck. That's crazy. That's crazy. It's not, bro.
Damn, man. Queen, Musita, Wolfie, we have Hicks, a girl. Okay.
Extra
So what?
girl.
So what? I'm supposed to be nice because you're a girl playing this game? I'm not gonna lie.
I say the medic is not a popular to run.
No, the problem is that not many people wanna do that, you know. They wanna be the carry, the bull. They wanna be the one that run away, loot the killer. They're not the healers, you know.
Wow.
Such a good fucking stream. I gotta fucking make clips of that stream to later. The fucking backrooms one. Yeah, you should have been there. Should have been way more fun with you there.
About what?
Backroom stream that we do with Alma and Bosch. Doing it against that this Friday. So, you know, be there.
Should I check this time? Be there or else.
Yes, or else I will murder your face.
Murder my face. You could be a bit calm. You could be. Or
I should
else
probably let
you...
Bosch know that we're doing murder something on Friday.
Yeah, you should probably let him know that.
I'm about to let him know real quick.
I mean, I don't know how he managed to do a home screen, but that was impressive. That was impressive, you know?
What? That's where he screamed like, dude, if you hear it on my end, he screamed way louder. But you hear it on his end, it kind of like cut out the mic, so he just sounds like a scream like Homer.
He cut up. I could tell. I could tell.
But if you hear it on my end, he screams so fucking loud. Sometimes he thought I was a skin stealer. I just busted out laughing. I'm like, bro, that's so fucking funny. I just ran up.
Yeah,
he fucking immediately panicked.
Nemesis.
It's them. That's Wesky. You can do this all day, sir.
It goes face.
You missed, bro. What was that? What are you doing, fam? What the fuck? Ghosty and fucking Wesker is not a good combo for me because they're both not married. Yes, they got married, and now they're on my ass. Okay, I'm blind to Ghosty. Wesker's over here for some reason.
I'm impressed with the
I'm impressed that they're still both chasing me and neither of them catch me. What the fuck is going on? Jesus Christ, bro. How do you fumble the bag that hard? Seriously, give me the controller. Fuck. I can do that better.
I fucking saw you.
Both chasing me. I fucking pallet slapped the one, and the other one's going after someone else, just like, and it looks at me and goes, oh. I'm dead. Please clip that. Fucking that back on myself. Holy shit. I can't with these motherfuckers. This game killing me, man. This game be killing me, man. I pressed for you guys.
Yeah, I fucking knew that.
Nice try.
Hey, I gave it a good old college try.
A mile away, man.
I got a problem. I gotta stop saying I got a present for you. That's the net giveaway. Fuck, I'm not gonna do this. Nope, can't do it. He got his head against the wall. Like a good boy. It's a good boy.
If you guys didn't.
Alright, Wesker, bye. Have a good time. I love you. Not really. Fuck your mom. I would. She's kind of hot. Seen clothes, Veronica?
Where the fuck did you stalk me from? Sure. Where the fuck did you stalk me from?
The girls are in the killer sack. And okay, I'm not
oh yeah, I ran. Oh my god, you just the cat. Wow, the cat person, you.
Kitty cat.
We all know that dogs are the premium kind. Yeah, but that's that. You outfit kind of like a cat too.
Don't you call me a cat, bitch. I fuck you. I'm a gamer girl. Get it right. I'm an e-girl. Get it right.
Yes, I'm the biggest e-girl you can find. I would say.
I'm an e-girl. Of course I fuck everybody for money.
Of course, I'm gonna say things for money.
Of course I say the same thing every other white girl says on the internet.
I'm gonna be the special type of girl.
Special ed type.
I'm an e-girl. Of course I want to fuck every fucking character in this video game. And half my chat.
never really thought about that, this honestly.
Ah, don't facing away from me, fucker.
We learned.
I hate you with a passion. Why did everybody leave? What have I done here? Wah, wah, wah. Did I just win that whole Lego phase?
Oh,
They did.
definitely.
Then you fucking put your tongue out and your eyes open. You fucking kick in the ass. Look it up. The whole Lego. Like nihilism.
Oh, yeah.
Nihilego.
Yeah.
Lego Supreme. Hey! There's a Lego commercial. In a Lego commercial, the Lego guy's getting pegged. Hey!
There's no way that's a real commercial, man.
Yeah, obviously not. It's an idea for one. He's like, hey!
It would be funny to see someone next.
Really?
Bruh.
Really?
What
Yeah.
really? So you get it touched in a bad place.
No. Someone
I messed up at the gen.
Hey!
I messed it up at the gen. That's okay, bro. Don't do like that. They do it.
Hey, Ghosty, behind you! I'm behind you!
Alright, well, when you're done getting chased, I'm back on the gen.
I'm fucked this up right now, man.
Come here, dude.
I'm coming to fuck the
Stop
end.
whining. Stop whining!
Okay, I see people touching that.
It's not a tumor.
It's not a tumor.
Get out! Put that cookie down now! Put that cookie down now! That's a little better. Damn, 2 dead or 1 dead. Drop dead, Fred.
Yeah, man. I'm sorry, Freddy. You died. Oh, no, we lost pigs, a girl. Oh no.
Oh no!
Oh shit. Killer on me, killer on me!
Yeah, good job.
Ow, that was fucking weird.
We're so close to that end, man.
That's fucking weird. That's fucking weird. That's fucking weird. That's fucking weird. Check that! You realize I went over? Oh, oops, never mind. It's this motherfucking double take. I can't. That was good. That was fucking good. Holy shit.
Oh, Ghost is right, me.
I ain't never seen a killer double take in a fucking pallet like that. I jumped the pallet like 3 times, and on the 3rd time he was right there, but he looked at me and then he turning away, and he was like, "Wait a minute."
Do I know you?
He's like, "Wait a minute." And they turned around and slapped me. I'm like, "Ah, fuck." I could have jumped the pallet more time. By the time I realized what happened, I'm like, "Fuck." Too late. Oh, that was good though.
That is getting killer check back to 0.
Ah, I got ghosty on me. I'm dead.
Do the killer check one.
Nope, didn't blow. Yeah, I'm dead. I just got double teamed. What the fuck did I Fucking bullshit. You know what I call that, chat? A good old tunnel. Good old tunnel. That's literally my gag from now on. Just gonna play back every time I get tunneled. insinuate that the killer sucks.
Oh, I'll come back for that generator.
That goes to want my ass, man.
Well,
And the pallets are going there, right there. You beast, go fucking sack. Go sack.
I'll take that little slow
Yeah,
game.
you got me.
So we gotta force them to go. Fuck. But you went down with that generator, so that's good. I'm going for a save for you. Fuck, that you're almost done. Oh man. Open it. Okay, protecting. Stop. Worth it. Leave. Worth it. Hell yeah, brother. Worth it.
Yeah, it was. Thank you for the sacrifice.
No worries.
Talking to me.
Nah, I sacrificed myself for the so they only got 2 people. So that was an interesting way to go.
I don't appreciate being told on fucking cage, but whatever. Is what
Well,
it is.
getting tunneling is your specialty sometimes.
Yeah,
Weird
man.
enough. I really don't. I think into 2 more and then I'm gonna make something to eat. Then I'll be on more to what? Look for who we can wait over here. No one over there. I'm probably rate you then honestly. Baby survivor inte fuck 2v8. Sure, I don't believe that. Would be funny though. Yeah, everyone is so fucking happy for 2v8 here. All the titles say 2v8 is here, baby. Like, oh gosh.
Well, it was fun in the beginning, first time playing that game mode, but now you're getting pretty boring when they keep the same killers.
Yeah, they
and
don't
everything.
do anything with it. That's my issue with it. Add new killers to add more spice to it, you know?
Come up with some new builds.
Yeah, unlike
Classes.
like legit the last time they made a freaking you know, with the add people questions, you know, what do you want to see on the next one, like a boon class. They could make a boon class. There would be some extra spice to survivors. Or anything, but they don't. And the worst part is the community eating this shit up because of they are so much in love with 2v8, you know. Oh, it's so fun 2v8. Oh, I can play 2v8 forever. Like, no, you can't.
Not gonna lie, but this event have been survivor sided.
It is survivor sided, that's the thing. It's just bad survivor like us that keep dying, or like unserious one to keep dying, you know? Jesus Christ. The problem is I wanna play killer on this game, but I'm not waiting for so long for one goddamn game. Yet. This person seems to be good today. It's a 2v8 person.
Make the rating.
Yeah, I'm gonna eat this game. I'm gonna eat.
You're ready to meet guys.
No, I didn't eat. I was focused on other shit.
Well, I can come over to you and you can eat me. If you know what
Hey, yo!
Yeah, that's sure. That's you.
That's gay, but you know what? I'm shipping it. Do it. Eat him out. Eat his butt.
Why would you ship it, you bitch?
Why not? You two are besties. Why not? You'd be lovers now. I mean, let's be honest, Sin. No woman wants you. If Wolfie wants you, that's the best you're gonna get.
That's fucking tough, man. That's fucking evil, man. No
Hey, if I
woman
had the
wanna
choice,
touch me.
I'd fuck a guy too.
Promise I know.
Only if they were dressed like a woman.
For fuck's sake. Yeah, you're not beating
Why did you become red in your face?
fucking no, man.
See
She
that
got
on
a
your camera.
crush. She got a crush. Admit it.
I think the fucking shock got me, man. God damn, I didn't expect that. Fuck
So-
me.
Someone please clip this.
Oh no. I don't want that clip. Oh god. Oh god. I don't know, the fucking shock got me, man. Jesus.
Huntress.
And there's a green vial next to that one. That one. Hunters on this map though? I ship it. Hunters nearby.
I walk on the end at the basement in the middle.
Yep, yeah, finish it. Yeah.
Do you know who the other killer is? Probably not.
No, I see hunters only.
I saw him first. Can't believe your ass blushed.
I don't fucking know why I didn't either, man.
It's okay, you come out of the closet. I still care, man. I still like you. You can be gay. It's alright, man.
BTK, you
Oh,
good,
it's
man.
Tiffany.
Oh, yeah,
crap.
fucking Tiffany.
We got a Chucky and a Huntress.
Yeah,
Little
with
plastic boobies.
It's all with the boobs. I'm winning.
The end in the middle.
Go with the titties.
You know.
And I got a hunter.
That's, I like it.
Fuck, I got Tiffany on me.
You too? How many people are Tiffany gonna fucking shit?
How the fuck did that not hit you, bitch? I know she's not getting teabagged by a doll. I don't think that guy's gonna get teabagged by a doll.
I'm almost done with this, yeah. Worth it.
you serious? I'm getting. Okay, well, here it comes. Here comes the tunnel. Here comes the tunnel.
Oh, fuck. Okay. This is not bad.
Yeah, well, Tiffany's a tunneling bitch, so.
So Tiffany sucks, but Hunter sucks because the thing.
Look, I can kill her by any means necessary, but bitch, it's 2v8. We'll chase somebody else. This game mode is already shit as is. Don't make it worse.
Yeah. I don't see how people are like, oh, I'm so hyped for this game mode every year. It's so good. We love this. No, it's fucking one of the worst ones.
Like green something right there.
That's
I
not
don't know.
green, that's blue.
I have a hunters near me though, so I gotta be careful.
Yeah, that's blue, buddy. That's not green. If you find green, then let me know. If not, I'm fucked. Honestly, I might end after this game anyway, because I think I'm gonna get myself some good.
So when are we getting the 5 only games done?
I don't know, when it's 2 times in 40 fucking minutes long. Or maybe I'll just play only motherfucking killer, main killer.
Why did you jump in the fucking locky, man?
There is no fucking way. I'll wait 40 minutes to play 5 Oni games. You're all fucking crap. They better give us better queue times when I play Oni.
I know. I know, man. I'm not waiting 40 minutes for like 1 game.
That's like fucking
that.
7 survivor games I'd have to play just to get 1 killer game.
Yeah.
The day's not even worth it.
Those fucking 7 survivor
Yeah, and
games
after
are
like
gonna
4 or
be
5
pissed
survivor
off
games, I'm
every
already
time.
gonna want to be off this game. I'm already sick of this game, and I just got on.
Yeah, this game, I don't know how people can fucking...
But yeah, see Fortnite fucking DVD, I was fucking raging. I was like, I'm fucking done. I can't do this shit no more. Like, I need to find a better game to play.
Oh, you're talking about that, yeah. Go for that.
Great. That's on me, so I can't get a fucking single thing done, because, you know, God forbid.
Playing get this one.
I don't even know what you guys are.
Yeah, one of the exit gates.
There's 3 exit gates. You can't be a little more specific.
Very close to the right there.
No, he wasn't specific, but at least I found it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Now I can live for at least 1 more hook. Which I'll probably proceed to get hooked by the killer in 2 seconds anyway. Fuck you, Tiffany.
Suck my dick, bitch! What's the matter? Don't like playing with dolls?
Bitch. Damn right. Flashlight stun that bitch. I ain't gotta aim for the doll. I just gotta aim for the fucking ghoul guy fucking carries her.
Oh yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
Whatever flashlight.
Don't come to the kill.
Fuck it, that's what you get for
Oh,
telling
really?
me, you bitch.
I'm hoping so much for this one.
Let's judge. Hey, what the fuck are you doing?
I saw you, Tiffany. I saw you.
Så det är något av riktigt. Tack.
Big titted Tiffany.
I'm taking it in. He wants you. He wants you.
Do we know we are getting
Done. Fuck off, Tiffany. Bitch, you thought.
Well, Omi, I was waiting 41 minutes for one game.
Tiffany tried to ambush me and I caught her off guard with a fucking pallet. Fuck that gun.
So I'm waiting until the killer time is due, but I'm already bored of this game of man.
Take your Jennifer Tilly ass somewhere else. I don't want to see it no more. Let's go. Why'd you buy, bitch?
Two left, really?
I think the DC, man. I have a feeling it's the DC.
Yeah.
Definitely a DC. No, probably was a fucking bot. No, I think they're just left.
Yeah, I mean, this is my last one. I gotta get something.
Go. I'm not sticking around. Let's go.
Yeah. Be free. Be free, my soul. You say I'm not sticking around waiting for the next survivor.
Well, I wanted to flashbang Tiffany. That's why I wanted to stay here a little longer.
Yeah, that one lasts, so let's go and wait. Wait on one and then I'll be on more tomorrow, earlier tomorrow. So I have more time.
I sure won't be, because I'll be at work. Whether I have a car or not, I still have to go to work. Yeah. I just took a day off today because I was like, fucking I have an excuse. And I was going to try to get my car to the garage, but I don't think that's going to happen. It's until Thursday.
Oh, that sucks, man.
Yeah, well, I have to pay.
Yeah.
My
I'll
car
make
insurance
it
only
fine.
covers for 15 miles to the nearest fucking dealership or whatever. And after that, I have to pay money and for the tow truck. And the place I need to take the car to is 30-something miles away. So I don't know how much an extra 20 miles is going to cost.
Synod 5 added 3 new divine welts.
So it's still 41 minutes on killer, by the way.
Nah, I'm good. Pass. I'll go back to Fortnite for all that.
Yeah, man. 41 fucking minutes for one kill. The game is not fucking worth it.
All right, chat. Well, I don't know why I raided me because I was going to raid out anyway. But go
Wait
enjoy
for
someone
it.
else's stream, why don't you?
Yeah. Well, I'll see you guys later.
Later.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we can
Bye.
get back in the Power World server at some point this week.
Oh yeah, I
I think
haven't
she's
checked the
gonna be
pad
on
world server
too.
yet.
I think she wants me to get on Wednesday and play with some games, so probably
I-
do that.
Ian, I fucking hate you.
Who?
What?
You don't hear the Discord call on your clip again.
Yes!
Fuck you.
Yes!
So does that mean you didn't hear half the bad shit I said? Nice.
No, he doesn't have the one way. I'm bluffing that.
Oh,
That's
I fucking
funny.
hate you.
Don't worry, you got my
Fuck
VOD. You my brother.
Well, see ya again.
Later.
Yeah, see you again. Yeah, I gotta go. It was
Later.
fun playing. I wish you the best of luck.
What's best looking about? I'm getting off.
Yeah. Do I?
For a liar. For a liar. Lawyer, not lie. Oh, I can't type. Anyways, did it start the raid or am I just fucking looking at nothing right now? Let's see. It did not start the raid, did it? Nope. I got before I kill this fucking shit. Okay, there we go. Everybody go raid Emily. Go show her some love. And we also Ama, the VTuber. So go show her some love and support. And go enjoy some art. I'll see you guys later. Because that's all the DVD I can put up with for today. Exclamation mark Ray in the chat. Exclamation mark Ray 2 in the chat if you don't have my emotes. You know the drill. Go show support. Let them embrace the chaos. Make them embrace the chaos. All right. See you later, guys. Boy. Bye. Bye.